Hello, it's your very own King of Red. I've come to the conclusion that I believe a guide is kind of needed, as I seem to keep having to give the same advice with regards to editing a noisy audio clip for voice acting auditions. Now, you'll see here that I have a very noisy looking recording here. If you look at the spectrogram view, and even just looking at the waveform, you can see there is a bunch of stuff here where there should be silence. I seem to keep seeing the suggestion of using a noise gate in these, which is only really useful if you are recording live, say like you are streaming or you are speaking to somebody conversationally. Whereas for something that you want to use for a professional voice acting gig, a noise gate won't do anything for you, because it will cut all of this to silence, and as soon as there's a breath, or you're speaking, all of this background noise that is hidden in the spaces here that should be completely dark, it all comes back. And I'll show you what I mean by that very soon, in terms of where it should be dark. So we'll get started here. I have made a pre-recording with noise. I do have a live noise removal on right now, because I don't want the entire video to have all of this in the background. So, we'll get started. So we're going to just sort of play an example of what this all sounds like. This is an example of what you can get your audio to sound like with a little bit of editing and some post-treatment of little clicks and breaths that some people don't like hearing in their voice acting auditions. Okay, so there we have our original audio. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start by selecting everything. We want all of this selected, ready to go. And we're going to look at Amplify to see how much we want to have our gain sort of sit at. So we're at amplification -5, because this is suggesting that to go to 0, we need +5. So now we go from there, we will normalize, and I don't want to amplify it by that much. We're going to go down to -3, giving us a +2 amplification, while removing the DC offset of the audio, which is an important part of this. So we'll apply that. Everything got louder, including all of the noise, which is not good for now, but it will get better. Next up, we're going to go into a clip fix. So I have this as my threshold and my reduction. Mileage may vary. You may have to experiment, test it out, see what works for you. Different audio setups will end up needing different clipping sort of settings to get the right result. So we'll just apply this, and we see everything's just gone down just a tiny little bit. So next, we want to go into the click removal. So these are my personal settings. This is what works best with my microphone, though it does still miss a few little pieces here and there. But making it any more sensitive, it seems to reintroduce new problems where there weren't any before. So this is kind of the sweet spot for me. So we'll apply that, and you'll see some of the wave peaks have just gone down, just the tiniest little touch. Though this wasn't a particularly clicky sound clip to begin with, which is kind of lucky. I did kind of try to make it bad, but it wasn't too bad. Next, I'm going to analyze the RMS. So we have a -22.1. And what that is for this next part that I do, which is a Desibilator pass. Now, this is an external plugin that I've had to download. I will try to find it again and give a link in the description. But it is a very useful tool. So, the RMS was at -22.1-ish, so we'll just call it -22 RMS. The rest of these settings I'm going to be leaving alone. This is not the default, but again, this is for my particular microphone, my particular voice. Mileage varies. Experiment with the settings. All of this, these, This you want to adjust with every individual voice clip based on the RMS. The rest of this can actually be left alone. These are perfectly fine to leave. And then these, just tweak around. Don't put this up too high. If you go for something like 20 plus, you could end up with stability issues. So keep that in mind, but otherwise do experiment. We're going to apply that, and you'll see a lot more of those peaks just disappeared, and that would be in the syllabate sounds of my recording. So the next and final part of this, sweep edit, is that we're going to go into the noise reduction and get a noise profile and select all. Now, before I do the rapid repeats, I want to show my settings for this. So I have my noise reduction at only -22. If you keep it modest, it introduces less digital artifacts through processing your audio. And you can just repeat this over and over again, and it will be so much cleaner than if you was to say, oh, I have up to -40 dB worth of noise, I'm just going to make it do -40 from the get-go and eliminate everything at once. It will end up with very obvious audio artifacts, so we don't want to do that. And there is a special extra trick that some people do miss, where even if they do use this method of a lower reduction, they will just reapply it until everything's gone. But you can get an even cleaner result still by following this next set of steps. So we have our noise profile, we'll apply the first reduction. We go back into here, we go back to the noise reduction, we get a new noise profile, because now the -22 reduction is on this and not all of this. And that's important, because if it's trying to reduce something that doesn't need to be reduced, it's going to create problems. So we just rapid repeat with Control and R, that's my shortcut. I believe it's the default. And then we still have this tiny little bit of noise left here. So we'll go back in one last time. We go to noise reduction, get a noise profile, and repeat again. Now, this is completely dark. And if I remove that now, you can see here, all those areas that were blue in between all of this here, it's all dark now. And this is not what you would get if you use a noise gate. A noise gate would allow all of this back through, because if you think of it like an automatic door, when the door is shut, nothing gets past it. When the door is open, everything and anything can get past it. Giant people, insects, cats, all of it goes through. It doesn't care. A door is a door. If it's open, it's open. And it's the same thing with a noise gate. Once your noise gate is open, it is letting everything through. And now, final step. So here we have a big breath. So that, you could feasibly just delete it. But if you wanted all of this gap here, and you didn't want to have to reintroduce the gap, you could do it a little bit more like this. So I'm going to do this in stages. So we're going to highlight the bottom part. We'll go into Effects, Spectral Tools, Spectral Delete, and it removes all of that frequency. And now you only have the high frequencies, which is going to sound awful. Like, that sounds bad. But again, we go to the rest of this, we delete. The reason we don't go to the entire thing, say, if I try to do all of it like that, it gives an error. It wants there to be a range, it doesn't want to do it all. So you have to keep that in mind. And let's do a quick scan for any mouth clicks. Now this is something I can generally catch by sight, without having to do much listening. I believe this is a suspect area. And some... Oh, wait. Editing and some... Oh, and here as well. Editing and some post-treat... Right, so we have this. If we just go through this really thin sliver, and we just repeat the spectral delete, so it's Control R again because I'm repeating an effect, and now editing and the click's gone. So we can scan through here. I believe this might have another click. Okay, so it's not quite a click, but there is a little bit of harshness in the end of me saying and. So we'll just take the thinnest slice out of that, and it'll soften it.
Treatment of little.
So there we go, we have that. And now let's have a look for some more clicks. This is going to be where it turns out I have basically none. That might be one.
Hearing in the voice.
Yeah, so there, you could kind of hear that that was quite clicky.
In the.
So it's like, so the has become the, but sort of much more quick. So again, we can take that out and we re-preview.
In the voice actor.
And now it doesn't have that sort of quality to it. It's just the and not the. I believe this might have another one as well.
Auditions.
Yeah, so just a little tiny bit there. We'll take that out. Now, one step that I probably should have done earlier is equalizing to remove some of the volume from this, because it does sound very deep.
This is an example of what you can get your audio.
And again, I'm not muting right now, but I will mute when I give you the completed example. But for now, we're going to go across all of this. Give it a little bit more range, and we're going to do one last thing, which is a spectral parametric EQ. So that is, it's running a parametric EQ, but using my selection area instead of a graph. So you can visualize directly on your audio what you're dealing with, rather than taking pot shots and guesses. So I'm going to do a gain of -6, and that should make that now look a lot closer to the rest of all this. And now, if I mute my microphone...
This is an example of what you can get your audio to sound like with a little bit of editing and some post-treatment of little clicks and breaths that some people don't like hearing in the voice acting auditions.
And there we go. That's our completed clip. So hopefully that's been of help to some people. It definitely has helped me learning this process. It's gotten me a lot more roles since I've started doing this over just using my automatically applied live filter, which I'm using in this video. The video audio quality is going to be much less than the quality of this clip that I've just edited. So there you go. Have some fun with it, and take care, everyone.